Here is another review video for the beginning of Chapter 2. This is going to cover function notation and evaluating functions, finding slope, and then drawing linear functions on a graph. So what you're looking at right now is practicing function notation. We talked in class about how we use letters like F and G and H to just determine which function is which. It's just kind of a way to name them. So what you're being asked here is, following these three functions, to find three things. To find f of 5, g of -3, and h of -1. So what you want to do with this number, we call this number the argument, is you want to put that into the correct function. So this one says f of 5, so you're going to go up to the f function, which is the top one, and where you see the x, you're going to replace that with the number 5. So you're going to have a 3 times 5 minus 7, which gives you 15 minus 7, giving you an answer of 8. Your answer is a single number. It represents the y value. It's what you get when you plug in 5 for x. You get an answer of 8 out for y. The second one wants g of -3, so you're going to go to the g function, which is the second one down this time, and you're going to plug a -3 in everywhere you see x. You're going to have to put it there and there. You have two x values here. Be careful with parentheses, because you are going to be squaring a negative. So if you try to do this in your calculator and you don't use parentheses, it won't square the negative part. So you have -3 squared minus 2 times -3 plus 4. -3 squared is positive 9. -2 times -3 is positive 6. And then plus 4, add up, you get 19. And again, your answer represents the y value. Your answer is just that single number you get when you plug in -3 for x. And then the last one wants to know h of -1. So h is the bottom function here in this list. H uses an absolute value. So you're going to put -2 times the absolute value of -1 minus 5. The absolute value of -1 is positive 1, so you're going to have -2 times 1 minus 5, which is -2 minus 5, giving you an answer of -7. Any function that I give you, you should be able to take whatever the argument is, whatever that number is, plug it in for x into the correct function, and get your number answer out, which is your y value. You also should be able to look at this and talk about which of these is actually a linear function that we're studying in this chapter. The first one, the f1, that is a linear function. We talked about it having slope, having the y-intercept. G is not a linear function. That is a parabola. It's called a quadratic. We'll study that in a later chapter. H is an absolute value function, which is something that we'll study at the end of the chapter. Next problem is visual. I am giving you a line, not putting any specific points on it. You're just going to have to use the points that you can see, and asking you to find the slope of the line. I think the best way to do this problem is find 2 points that you can see where it goes through an exact integer value for the x and y. So I'm going to put points there. When you're looking for slope, you're trying to see how much does it go up and down versus how much does it go left and right. If you'll notice, to get from the lower purple point up to the higher one, we go up 2 spaces. So right off to the side, we went up 2, and we went to the right 1. The 2 goes on the top, because slope is the vertical change, so the vertical change is a positive 2 over the horizontal change, which is 1, giving me a slope of 2. Another option, if you're more comfortable actually giving points to this, is to write down the points that you see. So this is the point 0, -1, and this point up here is the point 1, 1, and then use your slope formula. You should now be very comfortable using your slope formula, and that will get there as well. So you can either do it from a visual standpoint, just count how many spaces does it go up or down, how many spaces does it go right or left, or you can actually write the coordinates next to the point and then use your slope formula. The last problem in this review video, it's actually 2 problems. It's asking you to graph lines, and these are special types of lines. These will be either horizontal or vertical lines because they only have one variable in it, so it is important to remember which one's which. Before you do it, you have to isolate the variables. So in this one, you need to get y by itself by dividing by -2. So you're left with y equals -4. Your graphs that are y equals will always be horizontal lines. So you're going to go on the y-axis down 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to draw a horizontal line through that y equals -4. The last one only has an x in it, but it's not isolated yet. So first we need to subtract 5 on both sides. So we get x equals -2. Anytime you have x equals, that will be a vertical line. So you're going to go to -2 on the x-axis, you're going to go back 2 spaces, and then you're going to draw a vertical line through -2. So the other review video talks about how do you graph lines that are oblique, or meaning diagonal. This is showing you how do you do more basic lines, which are the vertical and the horizontal. Between the two videos, everything you've seen, that covers everything that's going to be on your next quiz.